Hello again, everyone. I'm back with another flip through. This one is actually going to be a two-parter, so it features my 6x8 pocket page album from a trip I took to Colorado in September of 2016. And my goal for this one was I really wanted to make it colorful. I was in a lot of places and doing a lot of activities that featured a lot of color, so I wanted to make sure that my album reflected that. Again, I am using pocket pages, and you're going to see a large variety of different styles, as you can see right here. So let's jump in and do part one. So first of all, I just give a little explanation that I had actually scheduled this trip for a different time, but we ended up moving, and so the dates I originally picked no longer worked, so I had to switch that. So I did write about that here, and then put the specific dates that I had to adjust. And then over here, I kind of flew in late in the day, so I didn't have a lot of time to do much of anything that first day. So I talk about that here, and that my friend and I and my goddaughter decided that we would go out to eat. We would at least get that in on the end of that first day. And if you've never been to Denver, I'm going to give you an excellent restaurant recommendation. It's called Sam's No. 3. This one that we went to is in Aurora, but there is a location in downtown as well, and that's actually the one I prefer, but that's a little too far from their house, so we went to the one in Aurora. And this card was another one, I think, from that combination set between One Little Bird and Kelly Perky. I'm pretty sure it was all about food. So here is our delicious meal. They specialize in Greek food. That's about half of their menu. So you can see that that's what I went with here. But of course, you can't go wrong with loaded nachos. So we had those as well. And then I had this little avocado 2x2 little piece of cardstock from a kit from A Beautiful Mess, I believe. And so I thought, well, there was guacamole on there, so I would throw that in there. And then this page centers on coffee. So if you're a coffee lover, this is for you. My goddaughter and I both love coffee, and so she said that she would take me to her favorite coffee shop. This is it. Before I went to pick up my rental car. So we did go and do that. We also got breakfast burritos, which were pretty good. They weren't fantastic, but they were pretty good. This is another card that was from A Beautiful Mess. And then I think this coffee set was from Ellie's Studio, if I'm not mistaken. And then this was once I left Denver. I was heading down to Colorado Springs, and so I took some pictures of the mountains from the car. Shame on me, I know. And I wanted to do something a little bit different on this trip. I tend to do similar things when I go home to Colorado a lot. So I chose a park that's very close to the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center. It's called Monument Valley Park, so here's the sign for that. And I just did some walking around the area, and I ended up getting some really great photos. And this cool little farmer statue. So this was a Sunday, and this card also was from A Beautiful Mess. I used to subscribe to their kit, and so I had a lot of cards from them that I was really trying to use up, and so there's quite a few of them in here, I think. This was not from them. I think this was just a digital file I bought, and it was 3x4, but I cut it down to fit the 3x3 square. And I think this little piece of ephemera is from a Chamel pack. Couldn't tell you which one, but I think it is. Just some more nature pictures. It was a beautiful day that day too, so I was lucky that I had good weather and beautiful scenery. This is a card, I think this is from In a Creative Bubble. I bought the digital file and just printed it out, and then I filled in everything that was on here. And this was in Pueblo now, and I was going to an art exhibit that featured Ansel Adams. And technically there was no photography allowed in the exhibit, but obviously, as you can see here, I snuck a few. So there's this one, and then this one. They had some other things going on there too, but it was really for the Ansel Adams exhibit. Then afterwards, I went out with two of my friends to just grab some appetizers at a pub nearby. And then this is something that happens in Pueblo every year at this time during September. It's called Chili Fest, and it's when all the ranchers in the area harvest all the chilies and bring them in, and they have a big festival with music and tastings and artwork and all kinds of things. So you can see my little description here, and then this is actually a flip. So if you've never used those in your pocket page album, I highly recommend them. Sometimes you just have that one extra photo that you need to fit in there, but it doesn't work. So I just put in a flip, so I was able to have this one on top and this as my extra. And these were some cool glass art chilies. I almost bought these. I had them in my hand and I thought, how the heck am I going to get those back on a plane? And so I put them back. And here's some more just little things from similar to this. Little things around Chili Fest. And then when that was over, my friend that I was with suggested that we walk around and look at all the art murals that have been done in that area of downtown. So we did take in some of those. And again, I wanted to be super colorful, so I thought these different things all worked well together. And then this is an interesting painting that actually talks about a super big flood that happened in Pueblo some years ago, and so I was telling the history of it here, and then including the part of the mural that addresses that. That is really a horse in the tree that actually happened. Not a real horse, it was a fake one, but still. This is another card from A Beautiful Mess. Zoom in on that. Actually has the thumbs up side. You know, the things that happen when you travel. I've rented a lot of cars in my day, and this is the first time that anything has ever gone wrong, and boy did it go wrong. And it was totally my fault. It wasn't an accident or anything, but while we were at Chili Fest, somehow I misplaced the key to my rental car. So you can guess that's not a good thing. So I actually ended up having to stay the night at my friend Jen's house, which was not in my plan. I had to have the car towed to the local Nissan dealer because it was a Nissan. And then they had to rekey it, which, as you can see here, cost me a total of $232 extra that I had not planned to spend. So this was the big bummer of my trip. But you know what? It gave me an extra night with a friend, and we had an okay time, so that was all right. And then I was able to get going the next day. So while that was happening, though, I had to have something to do. So I went to my friend's restaurant in town. She owns it and is also the cook there. And so she let me drown my sorrows in excellent enchiladas. So it wasn't all bad. And then I actually went to a local library and got some work done while I was there. So once that was all done, got the keys to the car back, I was on my way. This was an apartment I had rented through Airbnb in Colorado Springs. So I was meant to stay here 2 nights, but because of the car fiasco, I ended up only being able to stay there 1 night, which was sad because it was a cute little apartment. The owners lived upstairs, and then this was my apartment below them. And the woman who ran it was so nice. She knew that I liked tea, and so she left me some tea and some little snacks. So then the next day when I got up, I headed to Denver. And I always try to go to the Denver Botanical Gardens when I'm there, so I did make that a stop. And you'll see I have a bunch of 2x2 squares coming up. And these are sometimes a challenge, so you're going to see some tricks on how I make them work. So this was an art exhibit that just happened to be there. I didn't know about it until I got there, so I figured, well, I'll throw that in. This one's actually not colorful compared to all of these pictures, but I thought it was a nice contrast, so I included it. All right, so here we go to some challenging 2x2 squares. These particular pages I got in a variety pack, and I knew they were in there, I just wasn't sure how I was going to use them. And so I challenged myself to use them in this particular album. So here, these are 3x3 squares, and then you have 2 that are 2x2. And so often what I do when I'm having trouble filling all the squares or making sure that it's going to be pretty cohesive is I will cut a picture. So this is the same picture, I just cut it in 2 so that it would fit in those slots. This is another card from A Beautiful Mess, actually, and this Be Yourselfie stamp and this 100% Me, I believe, are both from Kelly Perky. I love her stamps, so you'll see those a lot. And then here was the really challenging one. That's a lot of 2x2 squares. So I just tried to fit in little pieces of what I had, and then this is actually one photo cut into 2 parts, and then I had an empty one, and I wanted it to match with this. I wanted something to go with it, and this is actually an old piece. Maybe some of you recognize it, a very old piece of paper that was from a line by Basic Gray, and as we know, they don't make paper anymore, but I loved them when they were actively making stuff, and so I had to include a piece of that. And now here's the back side of this. So I had to get creative again here as well. So cut this in half, cut this into two, this into two. This is actually a sign that I cut in 3, but I think it works there. And then this one, I just wanted this to match because this was such a bright color. This is a little cork piece, and I don't remember where I got that. It might have come like in a Felicity Jane kit or Citrus Twist, not sure, but I thought it worked well with that. And I'm going to stop there, and we will do part 2 in a few days. Hope you enjoyed it.